Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and with the World Cup over, it's time to turn our attention back to the Premier League and Fantasy Premier League. So today, we are going to do a video all about those things that you might have missed during the international break, such as fixture swings, double game weeks, some new opportunities to pick players close to suspension, players likely to be rested ahead of the new Gameweek 17, and much more information. So hopefully this is going to be a good one. Please do leave a like, please do subscribe, because we are going to cover today everything that you need to know ahead of the FPL restart. So first of all, and maybe the most important thing of all, is the double game week. So we have now got some double game weeks that have been announced for the upcoming weeks, which is really, really important, where some of these teams are going to be playing multiple games in one game week. So we want to be loading up on those players. We want to be thinking about captaining players from these teams as well. We've got some guaranteed ones already, and we've also got some likely ones as well. So the guaranteed ones are Chelsea and Fulham in game week 19. Chelsea are going to play Man City and then Fulham in that game week, and Fulham are going to play Leicester and then Chelsea in that game week. That's confirmed. That's happening very, very soon. So straight away, you do want to be thinking about some Chelsea players and some Fulham players for your team. You've got unlimited transfers to use, of course, right now. So grab some players from those teams. In game week 23, we've also got another guaranteed double game week of Arsenal, who play Brentford and Man City who play Aston Villa and then Arsenal. So not such an amazing double game week, I suppose. Arsenal and Man City, you probably don't want to play each other, do they, really? But it's going to have to happen eventually. They've managed to avoid each other so far. But yeah, certainly, again, Man City players, Erling Haaland, you're going to want to have him captain for that game. You're probably going to want to have multiple Man City players in that game week, and maybe some Arsenal players as well. But we've also got some likely double game weeks as well. So first of all, let's talk about the game week 20 likely double game week. And I know the FPL website, the FPL app is already saying that this is definitely going to happen, but that's of course not true. This is the kind of, it's very likely that we are going to see this happen, this double game week, but it's not guaranteed. It's not going to be guaranteed, because if Man City draw to Chelsea in the FA Cup, or if Spurs somehow draw to Portsmouth, I believe, in the FA Cup, then this double game week fixture is actually going to clash with the FA Cup replays in round 3. So, therefore, this is not guaranteed. But assuming Man City either win or lose in the FA Cup, and Spurs either win or lose, if both of those things happen, then this is going to be a double game week. If just one of these two teams draws their game in the FA Cup, then they're going to have to play a replay. That's going to clash with their double game week 20 fixture, and therefore there will be no double game week here whatsoever. So that's definitely something you need to be thinking about. Yes, it's very likely. Yes, it's already been penciled in by the FPL app, website, etc., but it is not guaranteed yet. We're going to have to wait and find out and see what happens in the FA Cup beforehand. But yeah, certainly if it does happen, Man City, Manchester United and Spurs will play Arsenal and Man City. Not an ideal pair of fixtures, particularly for Spurs there, but if you look at these fixtures, Arsenal and Man City, you do kind of fancy Harry Kane to do the business, do something in that double game week. Maybe lay off the defenders though in that one for the Spurs team. And finally, in game week 21, we have got an opportunity here for Arsenal and Everton. There's no fixture clash. Both of these teams need to play each other as a rescheduled fixture. It can go in here. There is no reason to say this fixture cannot go in here. We are going to probably get some more double game week fixtures in game week 21. Again, this is going to depend on cup results, so I can't tell you for sure what they will be right now. The only game that could possibly be rescheduled for this game week as things stand is Arsenal versus Everton. So likely, possible, whatever you want to call it, there could be some more in there as well. So make sure you are following, make sure you are subscribing, and as we get the cup results, we'll be able to update this and find out exactly what's going to be going on in that game week. Will it be a big double? Will it be a small double? Let's find out. We will find out very soon. But make sure you're subscribed. We'll update you as things change. Alright, speaking of fixtures, there are a couple of fixture swings coming out of the blocks. There are certain teams with good fixtures and certain teams with not so good fixtures. So, the good fixture teams are obviously all of the teams that already have double game weeks penciled in there. So you can see Man City, Chelsea, Fulham and Spurs. All of those teams do have double game weeks coming up soon, or at least we're expecting them to have double game weeks coming up soon. So, that makes them go right to the top in terms of who has the best fixtures, because they get extra points within the same small period of time. So that's very nice there. We've got some good fixtures for Man City even before their double game weeks. We've got good fixtures for Chelsea even before their double game week, which is really nice. Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest is a decent pair of fixtures. Yeah, aside from that, I did also add Man United to this good fixtures kind of area. I know their game week 20 and 21 fixtures aren't great, but their next three in 17, 18 and 19 are against Forest, Wolves and then Bournemouth, and that's a really nice trio of fixtures, I think, for those Manchester United players. So maybe Man United players, it might be quite a good idea to get them in now for game week 17, and then when Man City, for example, or Spurs, when they have their double game week in 20, maybe that'll be a good time to move some Manchester United players across to some Man City players, some Spurs players, Kane, Foden, you know, maybe KDB if you don't already have him. Lots of opportunities there. So Man United straight away have some lovely fixtures. I did just want to squeeze them in there as well. Conversely, the bad fixtures, I wanted to put in Leicester here, who have two kind of bad fixtures coming out straight away. So I know a lot of people are talking about getting certain Leicester players. Just wanted to put this out there as a kind of word of warning. Can we afford to wait a little bit? Can we afford to bench maybe? Maybe have some Leicester players that you're just going to leave on your bench for a couple of game weeks, because Newcastle and Liverpool straight away, it's not an ideal start for them. But after that, it does get a lot better. Slightly further down the table in terms of the worst fixtures, we do have some big teams here with some pretty bad fixtures. So Newcastle, they don't have amazing fixtures. They kind of play Leicester, Leeds and Arsenal in a row. That's not really ideal. Even their kind of, you know, even though we've got Fulham there in game week 20, it's going to be kind of a bit of a frustrating one, I think, against Leicester, who have been defensively very solid before the break, and that Arsenal fixture is not ideal either. So, yes, still, we are going to want some Newcastle players. This is not me saying, hey, let's not go for any of these players, because good players, good teams will beat the other, you know, reasonably good teams as well. They're going to win. They're going to perform well. The best players do well no matter what game they're playing. So I'm not saying avoid these players. I'm just saying there are some tricky fixtures here. Arsenal here as well. West Ham, which even though I've put it down as a green fixture, I don't know if it's an easy fixture necessarily. But then they play Brighton, Newcastle, Spurs and Manchester United, which is not a great run of fixtures for Arsenal there. Until we get some double game week confirms for Arsenal, I think it might be kind of difficult to justify going for them straight away, or going for too many Arsenal players anyway. Like 1, 2, absolutely fine. Don't think we need a triple up. Liverpool as well. Aston Villa, bit of a bogey team for them, but then they've got Leicester, Brentford, not a bad fixture, then Brighton and Chelsea. It's not a perfect run of fixtures. There's no double game weeks there as well. And finally Brighton, who play Arsenal and Liverpool in the next 5, and even there, easier fixtures are going to be played away from home as well. So Brighton, will they struggle? Not sure. But would I be desperate to get the Brighton players in this run of fixtures? No, not really. All in all, even the bad fixture runs are not actually that bad. So I'm definitely not saying avoid players from these teams. I'm just saying be aware there are maybe a couple of difficult fixtures for some of these teams that are quite popular. Alright guys, so following the World Cup, there are a few teams that went quite far in the World Cup, namely Argentina, France, Croatia and Morocco, who all have recently played semi-final games, third place playoff games, and obviously the final where Argentina did beat France. So congratulations Argentina and Lionel Messi as well for winning the World Cup finally. But yeah, certainly some of their players from these teams are going to be, you know, Premier League players, and therefore they're probably going to get a little bit of an extended break after the World Cup, and therefore are they going to be ready to start in the Premier League for game week 17? Maybe not even for game week 18. There's going to be a little bit of risk there as well, particularly for the Argentina players, I would say, who are probably well deserving of a bit of a break. So we've got Emiliano Martinez here for Aston Villa. This is going to mean that Olsen is going to go in goal most likely for Aston Villa. Now, this is not just about me saying, hey, don't pick these players, but it's also about how are you know, these players, if they are missing from their team, how is that going to impact the way their team plays? So for example, if Olsen is going to go in goal instead of Martinez, is that going to mean that Liverpool, who play them first in game week 17, are Liverpool going to have better opportunities to score goals because they're facing Olsen rather than Martinez? Maybe. McAllister going to be missing from Brighton. Is that going to make a difference to their play? Alvarez, maybe not such a big one, but we've got Romero here as well. You know, Perisic for Spurs. Romero and Perisic potentially missing, which is not ideal. And Lloris. Is Lloris going to get his break? that could mean that the Spurs defence is kind of a little bit lacking potentially. And Manchester United as well, which not a lot of people have actually spoken about. But Lisandro Martinez, I know he hasn't been playing a lot of football for Argentina, but still, could he get that break? You would say that maybe he gets at least one game week's break. Varane there as well. That's the two, major centre-backs for Manchester United. Add to that Dalot is potentially injured as well, potentially got injured during the World Cup. We're not sure if he's going to be available. And we'll see a situation where Manchester United's defence, yes, they have very good fixtures, but a lot of their players are going to be missing. Is that going to impact them? Maybe. Kovacic and Ziyech for Chelsea. Don't know if any of you guys are thinking about those players. Obviously, we've got Aguerd, who actually could potentially play. You'll notice that I put question marks at the end of some of these players because these are players who I think maybe because they played less for their national team, maybe they could still play in Game Week 17. But the timescales are very short. We've got a very short turnaround between the World Cup and the restart of the Premier League. So there's potential for some of these players to be out. Konate there for Liverpool as well. Maybe Liverpool can cover him, to be fair. But these players, and potentially even more players, maybe some players who had very intense tournaments going through to the quarterfinals, maybe they could have a little bit of a rest or their minutes managed a little bit potentially. But yeah, this is just something to consider. Players who went far in the tournament and played regularly for their national teams could be rested in Game Week 17. And this is not just going to impact them as an individual player, but it could impact the way their whole team sets up, the whole team's ability to score goals or keep clean sheets. Going to be pretty important, so do make sure you are making a mental note of the players on screen who could be rested coming back into the restart. So the restart has also come with some new opportunities that I want to talk about. There are a few players that are getting kind of a new lease of life in Fantasy Premier League who we might not have been thinking about too much prior to the break, but now we really do need to consider them quite heavily. And I've got them all on screen for you guys who I think are the major ones. So first of all, Nketiah, because Jesus is going to be injured for a long time, a few months here. It's not looking ideal for Arsenal, but they have got Nketiah to come in and replace him. 6.5 million for an Arsenal team who are flying sky high. Let's see how they do after the break, of course. But, this is still a real good opportunity. 6.5 million. It's a really good price for an Arsenal forward. We've got Martial, similar price because Ronaldo has been released from the club. This is going to be Martial. He's going to be the new central striker for Manchester United, so definitely someone to consider. For Liverpool, we've got Jota and Diaz who are going to be out for a little bit of time as well, which means Darwin is going to be hopefully nailed on, you would say now. So those of you guys who like the look of Darwin Nunez and you were a little bit worried about his game time potentially, he's going to have a real nice opportunity to play a lot more football now. Similar thing with Firmino. He's going to be much more nailed on. Darwin, Firmino, Salah. You can see that being the strike force for Liverpool when we return to Game Week 17. We've got Kulusevski for Spurs. Richarlison is injured, so I know a few people want to go for some new midfielders. Kulusevski for Spurs is kind of an interesting one to go for at 8 million, especially if he is guaranteed game time. We saw what he did last season. He was an absolute machine at Spurs last year, wasn't he? So if we can get him nailed on again, that's going to be pretty nice, right? Luke Thomas, someone who I don't think too many people are talking about, to be honest, but Justin has got a really, really long-term injury, and Leicester were defensively doing very well before the break, and at just 4.2 million, maybe if you're looking for that bench defender to keep in reserve, maybe Thomas could be the guy for you. Like I say, 4.2 million defender for a defence that is performing pretty well. Might be worth having a little bit of think about. Playing at left back should be nailed on. There's not really too many other players who are too comfortable playing at left back for Leicester, so should be reasonably nailed on. We've got Cucurella. Obviously, Chilwell is still got that injury. Doesn't look like he's going to return quite yet. Chelsea with that double game week coming up very, very soon. Maybe Cucurella is going to be the left back solution, whether he's playing at a flat left back or a left wing back position. We're not quite sure yet, but still maybe an option for you to go for. 5.1 million. For a player who's getting a double game week, not too bad. And of course, Kepa Arrizabalaga, who is going to be returning from injury following the World Cup. He has had a little bit of a break there to get himself back to fitness. He is the preferred goalkeeper at Chelsea. He is now he's just 4.5 million, so very, very cheap there as well. Again, you're getting a double game week player. You're getting a 4.5 million goalkeeper who plays for one of the top teams, which is not exactly something easy to come by. So yeah, definitely a player to consider. consider, and these basically are your new opportunities after the break to potentially bring in who maybe weren't such great options during the first part of the Premier League season, but now, hey, let's have a look at them. Okay, so you may have heard people talk about this a little bit, maybe not fully know what is meant by it, but players are on 4 yellow cards. And that is a bad thing because once a player gets 5 yellow cards in the Premier League, they unfortunately are suspended for the following game. So if any of these players you see on screen right now get 1 more yellow card, they will be suspended for the following game. So that means if you have a lot of these players, then that's not going to be ideal because they could potentially get suspended and then you've got 1 less player, which is just no good whatsoever. I've also got on screen, guys, when this resets. So the 5 yellow card rule does reset when a player or a team of a player has played a certain amount of games. So you can see on screen, for example, GW17 when Arsenal play 5 more games, that is going to reset, and therefore we don't need to worry about the 5 yellow card rule anymore. It turns into the 10 yellow card rule before the player is then suspended. Same with Saliba, Caicedo, McAllister, Decore, Ward, and Christensen. These players, they've got 5. Their reset happens in 5 games time, which is quite a long time, and it makes these players the riskiest ones of all. Of course, there's lots of players who reset in 4 games, which is a little bit less of a risk, I suppose. But just to point out some key players here that you guys might be thinking about: Saliba, McAllister, Bailey. I know some people are thinking about going for Bailey there as well. Mitrovic is obviously going to be a big one because he has got a double game week very soon, hasn't he? Fabian Schär, and maybe a lot of you guys going for Kane as well. So these players, just be aware that if they get 1 more yellow card within the amount of games stated on screen, they are going to be suspended for the following game. So, yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I wouldn't let it completely rip up your teams, but it's just something to consider. It doesn't make these players bad players. And I tell you what, if you are just avoiding Kane just because you think he might get a yellow card, then he might be punished for going that way. So, it's something to be aware of, but it's not something that should change your whole outlook on these players. And finally, guys, FPL has released a second chance league, which I believe everyone has been automatically entered into. And this new league basically starts from fresh from Game Week 17. So all of the points you got prior to Game Week 17 do not count in the second chance league. It's a really fun way of kind of just, starting again, starting fresh. If you had a bad start to the season, it's kind of nice. It's kind of fun. And, I'm probably in that category, to be fair. And I'm quite looking forward to a new challenge and a new start. And also, guys, if you unfortunately weren't playing in the first part of FPL, or, you kind of quit partway through that, or you haven't even made an account yet, you're new to FPL, maybe you played World Cup Fantasy, you enjoyed it, and you now want to get involved in FPL, well, now's your chance to compete in the second chance league. So yeah, you're already in that right now if you sign up today. And also, I have also created the FPL Mate Do-Over League, which weirdly, I actually kind of conceived before the official Second Chance League had already been created. So I just thought it might be fun to get some of you guys involved in this. We're still going to do it, even though the Second Chance League is out. If you want to join in, the code is on the screen now, and we're going to have a link in the description of this video as well. So if you want to get involved in the Do-Over League, we're going to be keeping an eye on who is winning that throughout the season. We're going to have a look at the kind of winners and losers of that league in streams and stuff. So yeah, get involved, guys. I'll be looking to compete with you guys in my own Do-Over League. But yeah, Second Chance League as well. Just something fun to think about if you didn't have a great start. You want to start again. There's your chance. And that's going to be it, guys. I think those are all the major points that you may have missed over the international break. I'm sure there's a few other bits and bobs that could be said, but we'll save that kind of thing for streams and when we get a little bit more information closer to the Game Week 17 deadline. But yeah, hopefully that's caught you up with everything you need to know ahead of the restart. If you did enjoy this one, you found it useful at all, please do leave a like. It really does help the channel so much. And we're looking to get things going again now that FPL is back. So all of the likes are appreciated. Do subscribe, like I say, if you want more information about double game weeks. That's going to be coming out as soon as we have more information. As soon as more cup games have been played, we'll be able to kind of start to piece together exactly what is likely to happen. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me today. My team selection, actually, guys, for Game Week 17, already made one draft of the team. You can go check that out. Made that yesterday. Go have a look on the channel if you want to see that. But yeah, aside from that, I think we're done. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.